Hello, and a warm welcome to Reddit Echo.
Growing up in a small town has a certain rhythm to it. The days are long, the streets are familiar, and danger is something you read about in the news, happening in faraway cities. For me and my friends, Tim and Brandon, life at 13 was about one thing: freedom. And that freedom was found on the grip tape of our skateboards. I'm 23 now, but this story is etched into my memory as if it happened yesterday. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon about 10 years ago. The sun was warm, and we had spent hours at our usual spot, trying to land tricks until our legs were sore and our boards were scuffed. That familiar post-skating hunger had set in, and we decided to make the pilgrimage to the local 7-Eleven for the essential trio of Slurpees, chips, and candy. We skated there, the wind in our hair, feeling like kings of our own little world. The 7-Eleven was an oasis. We went inside, debated our choices under the harsh fluorescent lights, paid for our loot, and walked back out into the afternoon sun, our boards tucked under our arms. We were just a few blocks from home. The plan was simple: cross the highway, cut through a couple of neighborhoods, and be back in time for dinner. It was a route we'd taken 100 times. It was the most ordinary end to an ordinary day, until it wasn't. The cheerful sounds fade, replaced by the mundane, ambient noise of a gas station. Cars passing, the faint ding of the convenience store door. The music becomes subtly uneasy. Part 2. The Unblinking Stare. We walked to the edge of the parking lot, to the curb where it met the highway. It wasn't a massive interstate, just a 2-lane road that cut through our town, but the traffic was steady enough that we had to wait for the light to turn red. We were joking around, sipping our drinks, waiting for our chance to cross. For some reason, a primal instinct maybe, I glanced over my shoulder back towards the gas pumps, and that's when I saw him. A man, maybe in his 40s or 50s, filling up a white pickup truck. He wasn't looking at his gas gauge or the sky. He was staring directly at me. Not a casual glance, but a fixed, intense, unblinking stare. His eyes were locked onto ours with a chilling intensity. Our eyes met for only a second, but it felt like an eternity. In that moment, a cold dread washed over me. Before I could even process it or say anything to my friends, the man moved. He didn't carefully place the gas nozzle back in the pump. He dropped it. It clattered to the pavement, and a puddle of gasoline began to spread. He threw himself into the driver's seat of his truck. The sound of a gas nozzle clattering, a car door slamming, an engine roaring to life. Music shifts to a fast, panicked rhythm. Part 3. The First Attack. The engine of the white truck roared, a sound of pure aggression that cut through the peaceful afternoon. A tires squealed as he slammed the accelerator. He wasn't pulling out onto the road. He was aiming his truck directly at us, 3 kids standing on the curb. It happened in a blur of screaming metal and terror. We froze for a critical second, our brains refusing to believe what was happening. The truck surged forward, crossing the parking lot in a heartbeat. At the last possible moment, we scattered like birds. The truck missed our bodies by inches. I felt a violent gust of wind and a sharp impact as the side mirror grazed my arm, sending a jolt of pain through my body. My skateboard was knocked from my hand, clattering across the asphalt. The truck sped past us and screeched to a halt in the middle of the highway, horns blaring from other cars. My friend Brandon, fueled by a mix of terror and adrenaline, screamed, "What the hell, you freaking dick!" The man didn't drive away. He slammed the truck into reverse, peeled back into the 7-Eleven parking lot, and then, unbelievably, he drove straight through a shallow ditch that separated the 7-Eleven from the adjacent parking lot. The truck lurched and bounced, but he kept coming. He was lining up for another run. Sound of screeching tires, car horns, a teenage yell. The music becomes a chaotic, heart-pounding score. Part 4. The Hunt. That's when pure, unadulterated survival instinct took over. "Run!" one of us screamed, and we didn't need to be told twice. We abandoned our skateboards, our drinks, everything. Our only goal was to get away. We bolted across the highway, dodging cars, our hearts hammering in our chests. The local library was our beacon, a solid public building just 2 or 3 blocks away. We ran like we had never run before, our lungs burning. I dared a glance over my shoulder. The white truck had navigated the ditch and was now speeding down the side street after us, a predator chasing its prey. We were a half block from the library when I made a split-second decision. I knew the library was closed on Sundays. The doors would be locked. But I also knew those streets better than the back of my hand. Just behind the library was a patch of woods, and a trail through those woods led directly to my backyard. "Go to the library," I yelled to Tim and Brandon, and without another word, I broke away from them, veering off towards the tree line. Sound of frantic footsteps on pavement, heavy breathing. The music splits into 2 tense themes, one for the narrator, one for his friends. Part 5. Alone in the Woods. I heard the truck's engine roar as it peeled into the library parking lot. Just before I disappeared into the safety of the trees, I looked back one last time. It was a decision I would regret. The man had jumped out of his truck. He was at the bed of it, reaching in. My vision was blurred by adrenaline and fear, but I saw him grab something long and metallic. A shotgun? A crowbar? My brain couldn't register it, but the intent was clear. He was armed. And then, the most terrifying part of all, he wasn't going after my friends at the library doors. He was coming for me. He started running towards the woods, towards the path I had just taken. I plunged into the shadows of the trees, my fear now a sharp, metallic taste in my mouth. Every rustle of leaves sounded like his footsteps. Every snap of a twig was him closing in. I didn't stop running. I flew down that familiar trail, not caring about the branches that whipped at my face, driven by the single, terrifying thought that a madman with a weapon was right behind me. Music becomes a disorienting, percussive track, mimicking a panicked run through a forest. The sound of crunching leaves and heavy, panicked breathing is prominent. Part 6. The Aftermath. I burst out of the woods into my own backyard, my body trembling uncontrollably. I scrambled onto my street, gasping for air, just as my neighbor Tim's dad was pulling out of his driveway. He took one look at my terrified, disheveled state and ordered me into his car. "We have to go to the video store," he said, his face grim. I didn't ask why. I just got in. When we arrived at the video store where Tim's mom worked, the scene was chaotic. Tim and Brandon were there, safe. But they were surrounded by 3 police officers, and my mom was there too. The second she saw me, she broke down, sobbing, and ran to hug me. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. I later found out that when Tim and Brandon realized the library was locked, they had run to the video store for help. They told everyone what had happened, but in the chaos, they said they didn't know where I was or if I was okay. They had seen the man run into the woods after me. Everyone had assumed the worst, that I had been captured, or worse. The police took our statements. We described the man and his white truck. But this was before every parking lot had surveillance cameras. He was never found. The psychological aftermath was almost as bad as the event itself. For the next 5 years, my heart would skip a beat every time I saw a white truck. I developed a hypervigilance, a constant low-grade anxiety in public spaces. The scariest part, the part that still haunts me, is the sheer randomness of it. We were just kids. We did nothing to provoke him. We were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. And a man with a void of rage in his heart decided to try and fill it with our terror. In a town full of people, in the bright light of day, we learned how quickly safety can be an illusion.
Don't want to lose this channel and always be up to date with new videos? Then make sure to subscribe. The story continues, and it's only getting more interesting.